hope to have the labs back to you on Friday. That will require a little bit of effort on our part to do that, but we think we can do it, right? Okay. So far, the essays look pretty good, as did the slides. In general, we're all very, very pleased with your work. Next week, either Monday or Wednesday, we'll talk about the lecture. I will talk about the Chinese Immigration Lab, Lab 2, the one you're starting out on. Ordinarily, I would do that on Friday next week, but we're having a midterm, so I think we'll move it around a little bit. I'll surprise you as to whether it will be Monday or Wednesday. Today, then, I want to finish up our discussion of the early Republican period, that is the period around the American Revolution, and specifically the Alien and Sedition Acts in the 1790s, and how they came about, and what they mean for, or what they would mean for the future of the party system and immigration law in general. Can we see this one? Does that work? Can you close that? Close those blinds, perhaps? There aren't really a lot of lights we could turn off at this point. Is that better? Okay, well, I can say download them later, I guess. This is roughly where we left off last time. This slide is much improved. I had a very poorly scanned version last week, and I took trouble to actually type it. It shows the two dimensions on which the debate or opinions on immigration can vary. And we'll use this framework again because I think it still holds true today. There really are two ways of looking at it. You can talk about the rights of immigrants, and you can talk about the numbers of immigrants. And one can favor more or fewer immigrants, and one can favor more or fewer rights for immigrants. If we were to talk about this today, someone like Patrick Buchanan would be down here with Agrippa. He would favor fewer immigrants, and he would favor fewer rights for immigrants. And maybe John McCain, somebody who favors, who's comfortable with more immigrants, but with guest worker policies and H-1B visas, those kinds of things that limit the rights of immigrants, at least look at it a certain way. He might be down here with Alexander Hamilton, right? So you can pick a current politician and you can still put them on this grid where I'm saying this framework continues to work. Now, for our purposes in 1790s, or 1780s and 1790s, we were most interested in the debate between Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson, because these two we can see as the nucleus of the first two-party system, the Democratic Republicans following Thomas Jefferson, and the Federalists following Alexander Hamilton. I think it's reasonable to say that the axis of opinion, the main axis of opinion, ran diagonally through this, as it probably does today, and that people like Agrippa, we read, he was the one who thought Pennsylvania was immoral, and Thomas Paine, who saw the United States as this asylum for mankind. Those were the more radical opinions, right? To find Thomas Paine, you have to look for libertarians who want to dismantle the entire state, for example, and Patrick Buchanan is certainly an extremist as well. I don't want to imply that everybody who followed Jefferson into the Democratic Republican Party felt the same way as he did, or the same way as the quintessential classical Republican would feel towards immigrants, essentially leery of them. As we'll see, Jefferson himself was going to change his mind during this lecture. Nor would all of the classical liberals, would all the Federalists fall into this classical liberal camp with Alexander Hamilton. There was a lot of overlap. And that's one of the reasons why the Constitution itself doesn't have a law of naturalization, why, as we'll see, they had a punt. So there are basically, I think I've said it, but let me summarize. There are really 4 reasons why this is important. One is that the framework holds, and we'll use it again. The second is that this is ideologically confusing, that people from the left and right can find themselves in various places. Because there are really 2 dimensions, we can find people like Kennedy and McCain in alliance and writing laws. Right? And we'll see that the 1790 Naturalization Act is, in fact, very much like that. The third reason is that because immigration is very important to a lot of people, what we're going to see is long periods where nothing really happens, where nothing seems to happen, where lots of legislation is attempted but no legislation is passed. And that is kind of the story of U.S. immigration law. There are long periods where nothing happens, and suddenly these strange alliances form, and something happens, something dramatic happens, and then it stays put for a long time. So the 1790 bout of immigration reform is kind of like that. It's going to put some stuff in place that will stay in place for a long time, even though the situation is going to change. And finally, most importantly, naturalization and immigration law have a path dependency about them. The reason being because these laws that are made about immigration and naturalization have an effect on voters, on future voters. So once you start passing, say, for example, liberal immigration laws, we're going to have a lot more voters, and those voters may choose one political party or another, thus giving one party an advantage. So once something starts, there are these mechanisms that are self-reinforcing. That's another. We'll have examples of that throughout. Yes. Path dependency is a fancy word that historians have borrowed from mathematicians to say that. It just means that accidents that happened long ago can have far-reaching consequences. The simple fact that we're going to see a fairly liberal immigration law in the early part of the Republic is going to, in fact, advantage, as we'll see, the Democratic Republicans in a significant way, and they will wind up being the dominant party, largely because of their stand on immigration. All right, okay, move on. You've seen this slide before, just a summary again, Federalists versus Democratic Republicans. And as we'll see in the debate on immigration in the 1790s, it's this bit down here at the bottom, surprisingly, that may inform the positions of these 2 parties on immigration more than all of the other stuff. Because the Constitution makes some rules that the Democratic Republicans see as much narrower than the Federalists would like to see. They're going to come down on different sides of naturalization law arguments. All right. Okay, so what then did the Constitution say? Well, first, in addition to more powerful central government and all these things that we know all about, that's relative to the Articles of Confederation, which is what governed the states' dealings with themselves prior to the Constitution of 1787. Here's where it came down on immigration of 2 things. One is to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcy throughout the United States. Okay? So it's sort of tucked in there with other things. Bankruptcy doesn't necessarily have something to do with immigration, but it's in the same clause. And as I said before, this is a punt. The reason is that the framers of the Constitution really couldn't couldn't agree. There were lots of different opinions, and they spanned the spectrum. Someone, for example, George Mason, who was very much a Democratic Republican, a very big mover in the Declaration of Independence, was among the more restrictive. He did not want to. He wanted to encourage immigrants to come, but he didn't want to grant them voting rights, for example, or the rights to hold office. So there was a lot of overlap, saying that that's clearly a Federalist position. It was held by a prominent Democratic Republican. But in general, if you looked at when historians look at the opinions stated at the convention, they would say that had the Constitutional Convention come up with its own uniform rule of naturalization, it would have probably been less liberal than what actually happened. Right? And one of the reasons we'll see is perhaps it's the French Revolution that comes along in between. The second thing it said, the second thing in the Constitution that can be construed as being about migration is this Article 1, Section 9. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. Now, as I pointed out when we saw this slide before, this is about slavery. Such persons as each state wants shall think proper are slaves. That's what's going on. And sure enough, in 1808, Congress will prohibit the international slave trade, thus making our first lab possible. We thank them for that. But this, because they chose to word it this way, it also means that Congress really can't make an immigration law until 1808. Right? It really grants to the states the rights to make an immigration law. They can make a uniform rule of naturalization, and they will. But they really can't prohibit anyone from coming to the United States until 1808, simply because of this law, because they didn't want to use the word slave. So they wrote something that was a little bit more general. I think which suited them at the time anyway. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so that's all the Constitution says. And as I pointed out, this is a punt. They couldn't agree, so they simply said Congress is going to make a rule, and Congress does make that rule in the Naturalization Act of 1790, which is right here. Okay. Pardon. That any alien being a free white person who shall have resided within the limits and under the jurisdiction of the United States for the term of 2 years may be admitted to become a citizen thereof on application to any common law court of record in any one of the states wherein he shall have resided for the term of 1 year at least, and making proof to the satisfaction of such court that he is a person of good character, and taking the oath or affirmation prescribed by law to support the Constitution of the United States, which oath or affirmation such court shall administer. And the clerk of such court shall record such application and the proceedings thereon, and thereupon such person shall be considered a citizen of the United States, and the children of such person so naturalized, dwelling within the United States, being under the age of 21 years at the time of such naturalization, shall also be considered as citizens of the United States, and the children of citizens of the United States that may be born beyond the sea or out of the limits of the United States shall be considered as natural born citizens, provided that the right of citizenship shall not descend to persons whose fathers have never been resident in the United States. Do you follow that? I mean, there's a lot more in there about how we're going to administer the oath and who's going to write it down than there is about what was actually required to be a citizen. What is required to be a citizen? Let's all mumble at once. Yes. Being a free white person, yes. 2 years. It's right at the top, right? Anyone who is free and white has resided in the U.S. for 2 years. Any court in any state, and you take an oath, and that's it. That is a pretty liberal law. Notice that it does not require. Notice that it says free white person, not free white man, as one might have expected in this era. That word "white" is a little nagging, though, isn't it? Surely, but and that's very clear. Clear that if you're not. Clearly, that is. Well, I want to put that aside for the moment. Obviously, that's a huge illiberality in this law. And while it's aimed at this point, most likely at Native Americans, since probably didn't anticipate a lot of Africans migrating. Remember, this is a naturalization law, so anyone born in the U.S. it's not an issue, right? And so, slaves coming to the U.S. would be not free, so white doesn't matter. If they were to become free, as long as they're born in the United States, this wouldn't apply either. Of course, I take it back. Native Americans are also born in the U.S. So it's not entirely clear who it applies to, but what group will it actually catch? Which group will it have the biggest effect on? Anyone hazard a guess? The group that's known as alien ineligible for citizenship, those are Asians. We'll see that in the 19th century and beyond, all the way to 1953, that provision will haunt naturalization of Asian-born persons. One of the curious things about this, or one of the most liberal things, I should say, about this act, particularly in the context of the time, is that it allows for volitional citizenship. That is, citizenship is something a person is permitted to choose. That is both a new idea and an idea that's profoundly threatening to absolutist monarchs in Europe at this time, and also threatening to non-absolutist monarchs. It's threatening also to any country that sees the world in mercantilist terms, which is pretty much every European country at this point. It's saying that if you want to, you can be a citizen of the United States, and the implications of that are that you can stop being a citizen or a subject of whatever country you're a citizen or subject of right now. That's a difficult idea. That's a difficult idea for Democratic Republicans because they're the ones who believe in the importance of virtue. They don't want citizenship to be taken lightly, right? They're in their worldview, a good government can only happen if it's populated by citizens of virtue and independence. So just simply choosing citizenship, choosing to be a citizen now, not to be a citizen later, that's not. What's treason? If you can choose not to be a citizen, well, you can just choose that you weren't a citizen when you were busy committing any treasonable act. It's a very revolutionary idea. At this time, England is busy making lots of laws to try to prevent the departure of people who are critical to its growing textile industry. So this is not something that they took lightly either. Secondly, I think this duration of 2 years is not very long. Right? It's certainly, there was a debate. This is the free and white part was not debated, or not very much at least. The term that was debated, and this was clearly what carried the day was clearly something fairly short, as we'll see. That's going to be there will be an attempt to, they will successfully extend this twice and then unextend it. And it is something that has been and will be debated over the 19th century quite a lot. The other small detail to note is that this does not deny states the ability to make something even more liberal. Right? It states that anybody who is free and white and has resided for 2 years can satisfy any court can take this oath. But it doesn't say that an oath that some state couldn't decide to grant somebody citizenship or naturalization on even more generous terms than this. I don't think that was intentional because that would mean it was not a uniform act. But nonetheless, it snuck by. Any other questions about this? Does anyone? Right. Then let's turn into the 1790s finally. As I said, the French Revolution comes around 1789, in between the passage of the U.S. Constitution and the Naturalization Act of 1790. And the French Revolution is a real, at least at first, is a real vindication of what's going on in the United States. It's a huge event. It is the culmination of the Enlightenment. Everybody in 1789 is talking about the French Revolution. Not everybody is all cracked up about it. It is, as I said, a big deal. It makes a lot of changes. Its reverberations are felt all over Europe. There are uprisings in Poland, in Ireland, in Haiti, to name just a few. Very few of them. Haiti may be the only one that is successful, that was inspired by the French Revolution. Thomas Jefferson is particularly giddy about this. He's in France at this time, and he thinks the Declaration of Rights of Man and the Tennis Court Oath, he thinks it's all just great. And he likes it so much that it takes him a long time to catch on when the French Revolution spins out of control in 1793 and 1794. And there's this period of the Reign of Terror when the leaders of the revolution are very, very much afraid of conspiracies and forces that are arrayed against the revolution. And there are a lot, like most of the crowned heads of Europe, for example, and France is largely embroiled in wars during this period. In any case, during the Reign of Terror, which lasts about a year, Louis XVI and 20,000, perhaps 40,000 of his close friends are guillotined. That is a lot. That's a lot of executions. Even Texas doesn't execute people at that rate. And that is appalling to most people. But as I said, Jefferson, he doesn't. He's still pretty giddy about it. He doesn't catch on as fast, and that's a political problem for him, as we'll see. After the Reign of Terror, when Robespierre finally goes to the guillotine, power descends to a group called the Directory, and they're a committee that runs France. It swings more back towards the initial goals of the revolution. But during that period, starting that period, England and France are at war pretty much constantly. That has a big effect on the United States, as we'll see. But mainly after 1795. In 1795, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. The Naturalization Act of 1795 is somewhat of a reaction here to the migration that comes out of the French Revolution. There are not only radicals from failed revolutions all over Europe, particularly from Ireland, France itself, but there are also royalists. That is, the people who are former nobility in France. They also, many of them, come to the United States. We're talking about a small number of people, but they're relatively visible. So the Democratic Republicans are terrified of these royalists. The Federalists are terrified of the Irish revolutionaries as well as the French revolutionaries who are coming. So they all get together and rethink that 2-year limit. And what they come up with is simply to change two things. They change the waiting period from 2 years to 5 years, which is what it is today still. And they also require the renunciation of titles. So in the oath now you have to renounce any foreign titles. Okay, so that's a relatively small thing. But the war heats up after 1795, and the United States gets kind of caught in the middle, tries to avoid that. England and France both see any American ship trading with the other as an enemy, and they feel justified in boarding such ships and impressing American sailors. By impressing, I mean taking captive. So the response to that is first a treaty with England, called the Jay Treaty, which was in some sense a diplomatic triumph because it allowed the United States to avoid war with England over some of these fronts. But it was very unpopular at home because it also helped loyalists regain some of their property. They were granted the right to regain their property. Loyalists, I mean people who sided with England during the American Revolution who had left. By the Treaty of Paris of 1783, they were permitted to get their property back, but the states had not acted very quickly to do that. The Jay Treaty added some provisions to that, also allowed English people, it gave them some tools for collecting debts as well. So it wasn't terribly popular. So during all this time, this is all sending the Federalist fortunes downward. But by a rare piece of luck for John Adams, the Directory of the French Revolution, by insulting a delegation that was sent to negotiate with it along similar lines to the Jay Treaty, they were asked for a bribe, basically. They said, we will talk to you if you give us a bribe. And that was considered such an affront that John Adams was able to declare the first undeclared war, so to speak. This is the first war of the United States, undeclared entirely at sea, and it was inconclusive, but it made John Adams very, very popular. It also led to these Alien and Sedition Acts, which were a huge, huge political blunder.